So things were going pretty well. Kids were getting older and the babies were growing up and we were getting more rest finally, and life seemed like it was getting back into a normal swing of things, and we'd figured things out a little bit. And incidentally, we had just gone to Katie's parents the weekend before and had a nice trip, took the kids down there for the first time, and the twins got to see their grandparents' house. And we came back and I had met with my men's group that week and just was telling them how glad I was that God had kind of brought us through that difficult early months of having kids, and they were growing up. And I came home from call one morning and kind of fatigued, fell asleep on the bed. Katie was in and out a little bit with the twins, getting them ready. And all of a sudden, I woke up to Katie screaming and realized that Michael was laying there on the bed, blue and not breathing. And I immediately had to grab him and started CPR and started trying to get him taken care of, and we called 911 and had to get him to the hospital. And that was quite an ordeal. That was pretty scary, obviously. I don't think I've ever felt like that any time in my life. It was probably the worst day of my life. And that was the beginning of Michael's ordeal.
And during that time when I called 911 while he was doing CPR and the paramedics were coming, and I'm just thinking, this isn't happening. I'm dreaming. This isn't real. And I just in the hospital I just started kneeling and praying, just going, God, show me your hands in the situation. Where were you? And just show me. And he did. He showed me that Matt was home that day when John turned blue, because that's my biggest fear, is a child having SIDS or something like that and not breathing. And he was home. My daughter was at Mom's Day Out, so she was not there when her brother, stopped breathing. People who were usually at work that were friends of ours were home, so they could come and pick up Madison and go pick up, my aunt could go pick up my oldest daughter from Mom's Day Out. People were there for us, and God just said, I was here, and he just showed us the whole time where his hands and feet were holding us and walking us through this devastating time. And
we got him to the hospital and he got stabilized, and it seemed like, okay, well, we'll see where it goes from here. And Katie and I kind of sat down and we left the hospital room and went and had some lunch, I think, the next day. And we kind of sat down and I said, I don't know if he's going to recover from this. I think there's a good chance he's going to have some, permanent injuries, and we may have to take care of him the rest of his life, and provide for every need that he has. And we kind of sat there and looked at each other and just shared a moment and realized that that's probably what our lives were going to look like from here on. And we agreed and said, okay, well, we're going to do this, and God will help us and we'll figure it out. And so we went back upstairs kind of having that resolution in mind, and the neurologist came in and told us different news. He told us that Michael had a very severe injury and that he was not going to live without being on a ventilator the rest of his life. And it was going to be a stretch even to keep him from having seizures all the time, and even if he was alive. And when we got that news, it was surprising, but not too surprising, obviously. It hit pretty hard. We had luckily just talked about that a weekend before. For some reason, we decided, it came up and we were like, no, we don't want to ever live on a ventilator, and man, we could never let any of our family live on a ventilator. And so when he told us that, it became very clear to us that we didn't want to leave him that way. And so we told him that we weren't going to have him on the ventilator, and we were just going to see what happened and let God do what he was going to do. And so over the next few days, we sat there in the hospital room and slowly watched as Michael suffered and passed away, and spent a lot of time with him and spent the last moments with him. And we were blessed in the midst of it by everyone around us, people, friends, family, people that just came out of the woodwork to support us and be there for us. And most of them understood. They just came and sat with us. They didn't have to be doing anything, and I think I was very thankful for that, because it was the hardest time of our lives. And in the midst of that, I know we just kept looking at each other and saying, you know, are you okay? Are you okay?
We just openly prayed and just kept thanking each other for each other, you know, just because I couldn't go through that alone, and I had him, and I was so thankful that God gave me Matt to be there, because I couldn't imagine going through something so traumatic without him. And and we just prayed over our son and just prayed over our marriage, and just thanked God for every moment we had with Michael, and just think that we were just praising him the whole time. And
yeah, I mean, it was obviously God's plan. I mean, he knows what he's doing, and I don't, and I really didn't at that moment. I had no idea, and I didn't like it even, but I was glad that Katie was there with me, and I wanted to make sure that she felt like, you know, she had every moment possible with her son as she could, and, you know, I felt like she wanted the same for me, and we just, you know, watched out for each other in that day and in the coming days.